Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So in today's tutorial we're going to go ahead and actually begin to implement the functionality to send our email to the user. So before we can do that, we need to install two libraries. So the first thing we're going to do is install the FastAPI-mail library. So you can go to PyPy, or you can just go to Google and then search for FastAPI-mail. Click on the first link to pypy.org, and you can find the instructions for installation. So I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to go to my terminal. So I'm going to go to my terminal, and then I'm going to stop this for now. I'm going to stop the source. I'm going to hit Control and C to stop the development server. Clear the terminal. Make sure your virtual environment is activated, and I'm going to do Control Shift and V to paste that there, whatever I used to paste. So just paste that command in there: pip install FastAPI-mail. Okay, so this is going to take some time and install for us the FastAPI mail that you can be used to able to send emails to the front end. So the front end will send the supplier's ID. We'll use the supplier's ID to get the email address of the supplier, and then we'll send the message that has been written from the front end JSON. Okay, so now we have successfully installed that. So now we also need one more library called .nv. So .nv will just allow you to create virtual environments, and then you'll be able to manage those virtual environment to create environment variables, kind of put in a file, and then so that you don't upload your content such as passwords and other confidential information to places like GitHub, or expose your email or password within your source code. So that's a bad idea, to expose your emails and your credentials within your source code. So I'm going to create a virtual environment variables, and I'm going to keep my confidential details in there. So I'm going to paste that in there. So this is going to install for us that library that will enable us to work with the environment. Okay, that is going to store our environment variables. So now that we have those two libraries there, let's just go back to our development to Visual Studio Code. So I need to go back to FastAPI, and then let's see what they say about sending emails. So this is what they say about sending emails. So we need to import all of this. So just copy all of this. It's a bit lengthy to type out, so I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to go right here in front of here, application. So I'm going to call these email, and then I'm going to paste that in there. So now that I have that in there, I'm going to go ahead and actually copy this functionality as well. So for this functionality, what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to copy it as it is, and then I'm going to paste it in my code, and then we'll edit it for our own, customize it for our own needs. So I'm going to come up here and then copy all of this. I'm going to copy all of this, and then come back to my project. I'm going to go down here, and then just before we're registering our Tortoise ORM, I'm going to paste that in there, and then I'm going to come and grab the rest of this. So copy that, and then go back in here, and then paste that in there. Okay, so make sure I fix that indentation. So yeah, so now that we have that in there, you can see this is why we need to provide in the email, the list. We can provide in a list of recipients, so we can send email to more than one client, but in this case you're simply going to be sending email to only one specific client. So now before we proceed with this, right, we need our email right here. We also need our password. Okay, so we need to provide in these details. So to provide in these details, I'm just going to go ahead and actually import the VNV, and then create a virtual environment kind of variables, and then we'll use those in there. So I'm going to open my palette here, and then I'm going to create a file called .env. Okay, so if you create the file .env, you can see it has the gear icon. So this shows that it's an environment variable. So in this variable, what you need to do is you need to create in here. You need to create in here the details, your secret details that nobody will be able to have access to. So I'm going to create mine in here, and I'm going to call it email and password. So I'm going to call it email. So email, this is where you're going to provide in here your email. Okay, you're providing your email address, and then in here you provide in your password. So I'm going to keep it password, and then in here that's where you provide in your password. Okay, so this should be, you can keep it a string, or you can just type it out something at gmail.com or something like that, and then your password. Sorry, reverse the process, but you get the idea, right? So this will be your email up here. So I'm going to copy this. This should be your email, and then this should be your secret password. Okay, secret password, whatever you want to call it. So this would be your email address up here, and then this should be your password. Okay, so I'm just going to pause the video for a short moment, and I'm going to go ahead and actually get my email and password and paste it in here, and then return back. I don't want you guys to see my email and my password. Okay, so I'm going to go do that and get back to you guys. Yeah guys, I'm back. So I've just copied and pasted in there my email and my password. So now that we have done that, let's go ahead and actually import one more thing. So I'm just going to take you back to the documentation of .vnv, and then you can see in the documentation we need to import something. So we need to import this. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm going to bring it to my code. So I'm going to paste it here. So I'm going to call it .nv, and I'm going to paste that in there. So, and I'm going to create another variable called credentials, and then in here I'm going to call it credentials, and then this is going to be dot values, and then let me just check it out. So it's going to be dot values, dot values, and I'm going to pass in the name of that file in which I want to get my virtual my environment variables. So I'm just going to call it .nv. So dot values to get me dot values, and I'm going to pass in the file in which to get these values, and simply in here I'm going to convert all of this into this should be done in another part. So I'm going to cut that, and then here it should be done here. So I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to convert this into a dictionary. So I'm going to convert this into a dictionary. Okay, so I don't think we need to actually convert this into a dictionary. According to the documentation, it already returns the dictionary, so we don't need to convert that again into a dictionary. So we can just remove that extra load. Okay, so I'm going to delete this. Yeah, so that's all we need to do. So this will be our credentials. So our credentials will be storing our keys. So these credentials will be we can use these credentials whenever we talk about whenever we move down here. We can use those credentials to get these values in here. But before we do that, let's not forget one important part. So we need to create a Gitignore file here. So I'm going to call it .gitignore. So we're going to create this Gitignore file, and then you're in the Gitignore file, right, we're going to pass in our .env file. So you can see we need to pass, according to documentation, it says here you probably want to add this to a .env to a Gitignore file, so we don't push our secret codes or password or emails and stuff like that to GitHub. So I'm going to paste that in here, and also make sure that you can go ahead and actually find the Gitignore file for Python projects, and then you can also paste the other content in here. But don't forget to paste this content, because we don't want to push this file to GitHub, especially if it's a public repository. It has your email and your password, so you don't want anybody having access to that. So don't forget this part is actually very, very important. Okay, to prevent yourself from being hacked. Okay, so now that we have that, now we're going to provide in the email. Okay, so we're going to say email, and the email is the name that you have called that variable in the virtual environment. I can't open it now because I have in there my password and my email. Okay, but you can just pause the video or play back the video, and you can see what I'm actually trying to talk about. So this will be credentials, and then the credentials, the dictionary. We're going to get the pass, I call it pass, and then I also need to pass in my email here. So I'm going to copy and paste in my email here as well, and then paste it here as well. So I'm going to pass in my email there, and then I'm going to be using Google server. So my email is actually Gmail email. So for Gmail, it's just smtp .gmail.com. So this is the mail server that Gmail uses, which is smtp.gmail.com, and then I'm going to leave everything as it is. So that's all I need to change. Leave the port as it is, leave the email as it is, and then you're going to use TLC equals to true, and SSL is false, and then the user credentials, it is true, which you have provided in here, our email, our password, and then our other email. Okay, so now that we have that in there, let's go ahead and change this part. So in here you can be the HTML that you want to send. So let's say whatever that you want to send the user. So let's see what I actually want to send. You can send anything you want. So let's call our business, let's imagine that our business is called John Doe. So we're going to John Doe business, let's call it business. limited. Okay, just to find a name, anything you want is fine. So let's make this be a header. So I'm going to make this to be a h5 and this to be a h5 as well. So it's going to be h5 tag. This is actually just normal HTML, so I'm going to do a line break here, and then we can also provide in the content. So the content is actually going to be provided in by the user. Okay, so I'm just going to explain to you this just in a short moment. Okay, I have actually skip some steps. So now that we have done that, we need to create a class that would enable us to take the user info. So I'm going to create a class. Okay, so I'm going to create class, and this class is going to be email content, and then the email content you're going to just pass in the base model. So the base model, we need to import the base model. So we need to import the base model from the Tortoise ORM. So we need to go from we need to import the base model from I think we need to import it from Tortoise ORM, but I think it has already been imported. So let's check to see. Yeah, it has already been imported from Pydantic rather not from Tortoise. So you can see here from Pydantic import the base model. So they have already imported that for us, so we don't need to import it again. So it is going to use it here. You're going to create a class called email content. It is going to inherit from the base model, and then you're simply going to have in here some fields, some variables, so attributes rather. So message. So the message is going to be of type str. This is going to be a type hints in Python. So if you know what type hints are, and then I have a whole tutorial on type hints, so you can check that out. So the subject is also going to be of type str. So that's all we need to do. So we need to create a function called we need to call it a post. We need to create a post function. So I'm going to create a function right up here. So just here I'm going to create a function. I need to delete this instantiation of FastAPI again. And then up here I'm going to call app dot this is going to be a post. This is going to be email, and then I'm going to get the product ID. So we want to send an email to a specific product, right? So we want to send an email to a specific person, right? So we first need to get the ID of the good, of the supplier of that good, and then we can send the information there. So first of all, I'm going to pass in the good, so the products in which the product that you want to send an email to. So I'm just going to explain to you just in a moment. So let me just first type it out. So async, and then this will be send underscore email. Okay, you're going to go, let's call it send email, and you're going to call it product, and this is going to be of type int. So let's make it more descriptive. So it's be product underscore ID. So it's going to be product underscore ID. So going to the product ID, you're going to say it's a type of int, and then in here we're going to say we're going to get the content, and then the content is going to be of type email. So call it email content. So email content, so it's going to be of type email content, which is going to be having two attributes, message and then the subject of that email. So the message is going to be the content, and then the subject is going to be the title of the email. Okay, so now that we have that, you can all this code, right? I'm just going to indent it from line 126 until before the registration. I'm just going to tap that and going to indent that. So all this is going to be within our function. So in here, this is going to be this email HTML is going to be a string. So in the, let's continue typing out. We're going to have a paragraph tag, and this is going to be just content. So it's going to be I call it content. Yeah, content. Content dot this is going to be content dot subject. Okay, it's content dot subject, and then you're going to have another paragraph tag here, and then this is going to be a p tag again. This is going to be another make sure I close off this tag. So yeah, so be p tag, I close that p tag off, so we have that p tag there. So in here also you're going to put in here content, and this content is going to be the message, now the message from the email, right? So then be p, then you're going to close off that, and then down here I'm going to simply include something in here. I'm just going to say a simple, let's maybe make it a h6 tag, and I'm going to say let's just say best regards best regards, just something simple, and then yeah, we can just leave it like that, and then we can just close off this tag. So p just like that. Down here you can also create another h6 tag, and then it's going to be best regards John. Okay, John Business Limited, and then I'm going to close off that h6 tag. Yeah, so you're going to get the so this should actually be, I'm just keeping a br tag, and then this should also be a br line break. Okay, so I want a line break, so you're going to have the title, which is the title which is going to be this one, and then the subject, and then line break, and then you're going to have the content, which is actual email, the content of the email, and then a line break, best regards, and then John Limited. That's all. So that's going to be our email. So we're going to get that email and we're going to send it in here. So now that you have done the HTML part, the message will actually be the message is actually going to be something very simple. So what you're going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and actually copy all this part. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to remove this out. So in here, I'm going to come up here and then paste what I just copied there. So make sure I fix that indentation. So the message is going to be the message schema, which is this right here. They have defined it up, they have imported it up. So first API, and then the subject. So in here we need to change the subject, so you can actually provide in the subject here instead of providing it in here. So you can just remove this, and then providing the subject should be here. So the subject is going to be sorry, this is not dictionary, this is going to be content dot subject. That is going to be the subject. You can also decide to leave the subject here, or you can leave it out. So I think I should just leave it out from this part. It doesn't make sense having the subject twice, so I'm going to just leave the subject there, and then the recipient is going to be supplier emails. Okay, now we didn't get the supplier email. Now this is what the part that we need to use the product ID in order to get the product, and then get the one who supplied that product. You're going to use that product ID to send the email. Okay, so it's quite simple. So we're going to supplier. The supplier is going to be await. We're going to await this process. We're going to go to product dot get ID equals to the product ID. So we're going to get the product ID. So this is going to be the product ID, and then we're going to get dot supplied by. So let's just move this onto another line. So this is going to be, let's call this product, and then we're going to go supplier will be equals to await, and the await is going to be going to await this. We're going to say product dot supplied by. Okay, so we're going to so supplied by, we're going to get the ID of the one who supplied the product, and then we're now going to get the email of the supplier. So we're going to get the say supplier underscore email. This is going to be supplier. This is going to be actually a list, so we need to say a list. So this is going to be supplier email, just like that. So make sure I fix that. So we're going to get supplier email. So we're going to get the product. From the product, you're going to get the product supplied by, right? The supplier will supply the product, and by using the supplier, we're going to get the supplier's ID, and you're going to store that ID in here. Sorry, the supplier email, and you're going to store that email in there, and the email is what you're simply going to pass in here. So we're going to pass in that email, and that will send the email to that specific supplier, and then the body is HTML, the subtype is HTML, and then everything remains as it is. And then you're simply going to start send a status. Status, which is going to come up here. I'm going to copy our response that you have been using, copy that, and then bring it here. So I'm going to paste that in here. So you're just going to return a status of OK, and then that's that. So yeah, that's all we need to send our email. So let's go ahead and actually go over this one more time. So we copy this one, we just got it from the official documentation, and then we have created a class of our own called email content, and this is inherited from the base Pydantic model, and this has two attributes, the message and then the subject. So we're going to pass in, we have provided in our credentials from our environment variables file, and then you have provided the email, the password, and then the email again, and then the server is just Gmail SMTP and pass all that configurations in there. And then you have provided a post route, because this is going to be sending something out, so we're going to call it post route. And then it's going to have a product variable, so we're going to use the product variable to get the product in which we're currently dealing with. From the product, you're going to get the supplied by the one who supplied the product, and then you're going to get the ID of the email of the one who supplied the product. We have simply built our HTML using f strings, and then you're going to simply send a message here. So we're going to subject, the subject is going to be the content, which is this one, dot subject, which is going to be this attribute right here, and then we are going to be sending that email here. At this point, you're going to send that email, they're going to return a status of okay. So let's go ahead and actually start my development server, and then let's check bring this here, and then start my development server, uvicon app:app, and then dash reload. So I'm going to start my development server, go back to my app, try to refresh this, and then we should get back the sending of this. So I need to pass in a product ID, and then to send the email to there. So let's add in a new supplier. So I'm going to just get a temporary email. So I'm going to get a temporary email, so I'm going to go temp mail. I don't want to use my email, so I'm going to get a temporary email, get a disposable email. So they should bring the email here. So let's just wait for it to load, and we can use this email, and then we can get rid of it. So this is the email that we have, temporary email. So I'm going to copy that and then go back to my UI. I'm actually going to create in a new supplier. So add supplier. I'm going to try this. So the supplier, the email will be what you have just copied. The supplier name will be Jane, let's call it Janet Doe. So that's the name of the supplier, and then the company name will be Janet Limited, whatever, and then the phone number can just be any random numbers. This actually should be numbers, right? So make sure I get that numbers, any random numbers, and then we can go ahead and actually make a post request. So post this, and then we got back a 200 error, and then the supplier has been added. Okay, so great. So now that we have the supplier, let's go ahead and actually add a product. So add a product, and then before I do that, let me try to get all suppliers, try this out so I can get the ID of the supplier. So I have the supplier here called Janet, and his ID is 3. So we're going to use that ID when adding a product. So when I hit try this, it's going to be of ID of 3, and then this is going to be let's call it sugar. Sugar, there's some random values, so we have sold 10 pieces or whatever, and then the unit price is going to be, then price is 30, so it's going to calculate the revenue and then return that to us here. Yeah, so we have that there. So now that we have that product, let's go ahead and try to send that email to this guy. So the product ID, so I'm going to go get all the products, and then so they can get the product ID of that new product. So the product ID is actually 3. So great. So we're going to go back in here, try this out. So I'm going to pass in 3, and then their email will be hello testing, and then the subject is going to be testing. So now that we have that there, let's go ahead and actually execute this. So let's see, we have a status of okay, so we got back a status of okay. So let's see, okay, error to execute fetch on window patch URL email 3. So there was an error, we got an error back. So let's see why. First, let's check if the email has been sent. So let's try to refresh this if the email has been sent. But if the email sent, is supposed to get back a status of 200. So the email has not been sent. So let's check in here. Okay, why didn't that work? So email product, and then the product ID I've passed in, then execute this. So it doesn't work. So failed to execute fetch on window plus. So this actually should be a post. It says that fetch failed to execute. So let's see where that error is coming from. It doesn't even give us a clue where the error is, so I don't know. So let me just copy this for now, then refresh this site, and then try this again. Product an ID of 3, and then paste that content in there, and then make execute. So we don't actually get any error back. It just tells that undocumented type error, failed to fetch on window, failed to pass URL from HTTP this much. Okay, I know where the error is. So you see here, right, I forgot the / before email. So it's supposed to be the post, and then all the URLs start with /. So my bad. So let's try this out again, and hopefully it works. So let's execute this. So let me just try to refresh this again. Try this out, pass in an ID of 3, and then paste the contents there, and then execute. So it's going to take a bit of time, and it's going to send that email, and then you're going okay. So I've got back a status of okay. So that shows that email has been sent. So if I come to my temp.l, you can see that I have sent that email there from this email address of mine. So you can see the subject is testing. This is our title here, and then hello testing, and then best regards. That, so yeah, basically our email is working, and the date, everything is working fine. So yeah, that's the email functionality, and that's how you can be able to send emails using FastAPI. Yeah, so that's all we need for that functionality. So in the next tutorial, we're going to go ahead and actually create the course headers, and then we'll go into front development. So guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this tutorial so far, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content like this. So thanks for watching. Keep safe. See you in the next one.